do the Constitution like the Tea Party people, really want to go back to the type of Constitution that enslaved people and made white males who have property the controllers of this nation, and they have become the controllers of the world, using a Constitution that has no meaning to them because they don't intend to follow a Constitution. What we need in the country is for the people who have the power of citizenship, only the name, they need to call for a constitutional convention to create a constitution for this country that people can live by.
Well, you know, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to white people, I can understand why some would be very candid and say that the Constitution is just a piece of paper. In other words, it's not a living document. They are whites, and that they have an agenda, and that they are all about power. Consequently, it was not an accident when Donald Trump said the other day that America needs to take the oil of Libya, get rid of Gaddafi, and take the oil of Libya. And that's what he said with respect to Afghanistan, take their natural resources, and as well as Iraq. So there is a mindset afoot that says, just take it. They can't defend it, and if you want it and you need it, we'll take it. Because Dr. Clark said it well, the white man has never paid for anything that he needs that you have, and he doesn't want to pay for it. He is going to take it.
Well, you know, and this is emphatically an oligarchy. And what we have to do is ensure that...
You're talking about this nation?
This nation.
Right. So it's not a democracy?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And we have to be clear that it is to benefit the haves, it is to benefit big business, but the voting rights that we have and that we can utilize, to the degree that we can utilize, we have to ensure that this oligarchy does not allow the fall and demise of this nation and African people.
Spike Lee.
All right, issue number 5. Julian, we'll start with you in Mount Pleasantville. The police officer who murdered, Officer Hess, who murdered the young man in, where was that again? In Mount Pleasantville. By Mount Pleasantville PD, the student. The officer who killed him was just named the Cop of the Month.
Dan Roy Henry, I believe his name was.
Right.
And unfortunately, you know, this isn't something new. This isn't the first time this has happened. It happened in New York City as well. I think the gentleman that was killed, name was Cedeno. That officer was honored as well. But we have to really be staunch in our protest against these killings that are occurring in our communities to our young men. We have to be staunch in saying that we will not allow these people to be rewarded for the killing of African men by the police department and by these police officers.
Well, I remember, was a young man who killed some people on the Long Island, on the train in Long Island?
Colin
Ferguson. I remember Mrs. Khalid Muhammad, you know, praised him. And when he was criticized, Mr. Khalid Muhammad said, listen, man, white people, they praise their killers. They call them generals. They give them medals for the amount of people that they kill and murder. So he said that, you know, not to justify, I'm just quoting it, but here you see in what happened in Pleasantville, someone killed an unarmed, innocent individual, and he was honored. But before we come to our phones, we really want to update. Mike, give us an update on the Central Park situation. There's an attempt for these men to receive some kind of compensation for the years, and it can't be called justice, that they spent in jail, the individuals who was convicted falsely in the Central Park rape case. Michael, why don't you give us an update?
Well, this is 22 years. You know, this happened actually 22 years ago in 1989, where these men were, they took youth from all over Central Park, all in the Harlem area, and just grabbed youth. They went crazy because once it went over the air that there was a white woman who was raped, they went crazy. They had no idea who did it or whom did it, you know. So they didn't know whether it was black, white, Latino, who did it, but they naturally just started grabbing black youth. And of course they, you know, some say in excess of 200, you know, 1 to 200 was initially grabbed, but it came down to 8 real quick. And after they dropped the charges on 1, it was 7. 1 turned state, which brought it down to 6. And of course, Automatic was able to go to court and defend his client, which brought it down to the 5. So the 5 right now that served all of this time in jail. There was another one who served, but he turned state and said he was guilty. So, and that was very questionable police tactics that made all of them admit to whatever. So they found out eventually it was Mateus Reyes who did it, and that's why we're in the situation we're in now. They should have recompense because the real person who raped and brutalized the woman name is Mateus Reyes, who confessed to the whole thing, and these men now have been without recompense and spent their formative and developmental years in jail, and they need to be compensated. And your present mayor, Bloomberg, has refused to do it, and you have staunch detectives still saying, as well as Raymond Kelly, the police commissioner, saying to this day that he believes they did it, and you have detectives still defending their actions, yet these men are going without compensation, and when whites are arrested, they get compensation immediately.
All right. Did you want to comment on that, Reverend?
That's just another terror in here. In fact, I marched in support of them. And that's when I realized that I could no longer march, because after being out there for 2 hours, my legs said, "You're a maturing young man." So that was the last time that I could do that. But I think that's a horror, and they should be compensated largely for what they have suffered. They should be compensated.
Right. And as Michael correctly pointed out, even though you have someone who came forward and said that he did it, he was alone, and even upon reflection, they find out some of the so-called evidence that they had against these youth was false. The hair didn't belong to none of them, and the blood sample didn't belong to any of them, that we found out this evidence was trumped up. There's still a reluctance of this diabolical mayor to give these individuals compensation for what they went through. But right now, we have the phone lines filled up as always. First caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where are you calling from?
Harlem.
Welcome.
Namaste.
Namaste, brother. Do you have a question or comment for our guest, Reverend C. Herbert Oliver, or a comment?
I just want to say it's an honor to have you on the panel. And I want to say hotep to Noel, Julian, Michael Graves. All you guys are wonderful. I'll be very quick. As far as the issue with Obama, I'm not too concerned about his birth certificate or him winning re-election. I like what Michael said as far as the impeachment process. He should be impeached, and I don't care anything about Obama. He's a dirtbag. He has nothing in the bag for us. And as far as him going into Libya, he will be humbled. Whether the Black Caucus do anything or not, I don't put my stock in them either. But don't worry, he will be humbled, just like the spiritual power has humbled Doomberg. It is not over. It is out of our hands. We have to know that it is spiritual warfare, and I've been telling you all along, it's only going to come from the Most High. That's the only way these villains will be defeated, and they will be defeated. Right. Hotep, namaste. Reinstate automatic.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your call. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Hotep, I'm calling from Brooklyn.
Okay, Brooklyn. Quick question or comment?
Yeah, my comment is when it comes to Libya, right, they're telling you they went there to protect the civilians. But when you watch the news, they got more people die in Syria, more civilians die, and in all of them African countries where the civilians were dying, the Sudan, they never did anything. You understand what I'm saying? And
exactly.
Then those wars, they cost a lot of money. See, I think Obama, he made a move for himself because he want to get reelected. He want to show how tough he is. But like you said, the civil rights people, they should call him out. You understand? Because if we don't do that, the other side going to say, okay, when it's yours, you don't talk. And then when it's hers, you always going to say, oh, we don't want war. So if we against war, it doesn't matter if it's black or white. We against war, we against war, period.
Exactly.
Love you, my brothers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, brother.
Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Harlem. Hotep, brother.
Hotep, brother.
Hotep.
A couple of quick points. Number one, Obama needs to sit down on a black talk show and have a serious conversation with guys like you. If he can go on to Bill O'Reilly, who blatantly disrespected him, interrupted him, actually leaned forward and practically got in Obama's face.
Right.
He didn't seem to have a problem with with that. I don't see why he can't go on a black talk show and have a talk with you guys. Number two, Mayor Bloomberg was on Tavis Smiley last night. Tavis Smiley totally let him off the hook. Didn't ask him one really serious question. He totally let him off the hook on Kathy Black and didn't even bring up the situation with the Central Park joggers. And third and finally, I just want to say that there are some photos that came out in Rolling Stone magazine in an article called The Kill Team.